Well, good evening. This is Gina Tadella. I'm an independent Stampin' Demonstrator here in Poulsbo, Washington. And tonight I'm going to show you how to use DSP and layering and texture all together with a stamping of a sentiment. So, let's get started. So, I am using DSP that's retired, but you can use any type of DSP. Just coordinate your cardstock strips. And so what I'm going to show you on each one, but I'll give you the measurements as we go. And I'm using this happy birthday sentiment with Memento Black. And it can be a thanking of you or a happy birthday. It's your choice. But first off, you're going to need one piece of 5.5 by 8.5 basic white. And then we're going to go ahead and fold this in half. And if you don't have a bone folder, just use your finger and go down the center and then go up and then go down. But I'm going to use my bone folder. And people always ask me, what tools do you recommend to start off with? Well, I always recommend a paper trimmer, paper snips, a bone folder, multi-purpose glue, and clear blocks, because you need those. And I usually recommend them to get the set. And as I said, the Memento Black pad. And usually I suggest to them which is their favorite color groups. And then I suggest to them to go ahead and get the whole pad group, because you get a discount when you buy it that way. I'm just going to put those tools to the side because we are going to use them. And I usually flip the card over and I go back again across that crease. Now, I'm using a DSP that was when we used to have Hostess Rewards. It came in a big paper pack, so I'm just using up that. So it can be any other. Just choose out cardlers of cardstock to coordinate with your DSP. So, and usually I recommend that. Just wanted to show that. And then each of these pieces, these two, are, I believe, 1 inch by 3 inches. They are. 1 inch by 3 inch. And then this is the real red 1 inch by 3 inch. And this is Lemon Lime Twist. And then this is, I think it's Daffodil Delight. And this is a 3/4 inch. So it's less than 1 inch. 3/4 of an inch by 3.5 inches. So, first off, we want to stamp our red one with the sentiment. That's the first step. And I used this stamp today in class, so I don't need to prime it because I didn't clean it off. But just walk it around your ink pad and then turn it over and make sure you got ink on all of it. And then we're going to line it up to the left-hand side, and then stamp straight down. And then, there you go. And I usually cover my ink pad back up because I have a bad habit of getting my fingers caught into it. So, then you're going to take your paper snip, and you're going to cut up from the center. And you're going to make a flag. And it's easy to cut through the center. And then what you do is you come to the corner and cut to where it meets. And you turn it and you do the same thing on the opposite side. And that's how you make your flags. So there's one. And then I do the same thing on these two. But then we're going to put texture on them. And that's where I'm going to bring in the embossing folder and the stamp emboss machine. Stamp cut emboss machine. Now, that's not a tool that I usually recommend to somebody. Well, if you have a birthday or a special holiday, somebody wants to get you a gift, that is a gift that I would have somebody get you. Or they can give you money and then you can put it towards it, because that's an investment. But I don't usually recommend for people to get it right off the bat, because I want to make sure that they enjoy doing what they're doing. So, anyways, so there's that. So now we're going to put texture on them. So, get the embossing folder. I'm going to move this out of our way because I have to bring the machine in. So, we're going to put texture on these. And this one has stars and stripes. So we're going to go ahead and line them up. Now I usually just go ahead and line them up all together. I think I'm going to put the yellow one in here. Okay. In between the two smaller versions. Okay, there we go. Sometimes they want to move on you because you bump them. They don't have to be right side by side, but we don't want them crooked either. So when you use this one is a normal embossing folder, so it's not a 3D. So you want to use platform 1, then cutting plate number 3, and then cutting plate number 3 on top. They're sandwiched together. Then you're going to pick them up, and then, hey Debbie. Then you're going to slide it into the machine, and you hold it down, and then get it started and roll the handle. The machine's so big compared to my camera. There we go. I'm going to move this back out of the way. It's large and cumbersome. And then you're going to see this texture. Move that out of the way. So this is the inverted, but we're going to use this side. Isn't that cool? That texture. And then there's happy birthday. So, now we're ready to mount it onto our DSP. Now, whenever you emboss, this is suggested glue, but I use this glue for everything, so. But you don't want to go too close to the outside edges because it does seep out. So I'm going to place this one right here. And then, of course, I'm going to bring in the yellow strip. It's going to go right below the real red. And then lemon lime twist. Or you could have used granny apple green. Either color. But I was just grabbing out my scraps. There we go. And then they all line up. So you see, there you go. See how that is? I love this embossing folder. I don't know if it's retired or not because I haven't gone through all those to see what's been retired and what's not. But you could use a star one or you could use a plaid one, any of those, to bring the texture in. Now we're ready to mount it to our card base. And I usually just go around the frame. And you can put a little bit in the center if you want. Like that. But if you get too close to the outside, it doesn't give you much to shimmy with, because then you have glue all over your card and your fingers. So that's why I usually go on the inside, because it does spread. And to top this off, we're going to add some rhinestones. I have some left over from that one, and then some from this one. And I usually do 3. So you can use your snips, or if you have to take your pick tool, this is a wonderful tool. You can use that too. You just go slide up underneath, because these are adhesive bound. So they have adhesive up underneath. Just make sure you press down on them. And I'm going to use 3. 2 small. I can get that one. Being stubborn. And I'm usually putting them on the yellow line because they really will stand out. Then I'll use 1 large one. And highlight that on the green by the saying. But isn't that pretty? Very easy. I know, right, Debbie? It does look nice on that busy DSP. Okay, so now, let me move this out of the way. And I'll bring that back in at the end. So here's one for the 4th of July. And this is the fireworks. So this is going to be like this. It's going to be horizontal. So this is a 4 by 5 1/4. And of course, here's your card base, 5.5 by 8.5. And I could have cut it at 4 1/4 by 11. I'm going to flip this over and then refirm that, and then move that out of the way, as well as that. Right now, and then there's the back side, which I didn't care for that. So here is the fireworks. So now we want to go ahead, and on this one here, you can put Happy 4th of July, but I know one person who has a birthday on 4th of July, so this is why I'm making this one for a happy birthday. So we want to go ahead and stamp the saying first, because we want that ink dry before we put it in the embossing folder. Now, we won't be embossing this one. We'll just be embossing these 2. So when you ink up your stamp, you want to tap it, twist, tap, tap, and then line up your happy with the top of the red, and press firmly and count to 5. There we go. And get yourself in the habit of closing your ink pad when you're not using it, so that way you don't get other stuff in it. And here we're going to do the cutting of the flag or banner. Some people call it ducktails, some people call it flags, and some people call it banners. Me, myself, I call it banners. Yeah, me too, Debbie. I love cards that make it easy. And I don't know if, did you get to see the one I did with the blues kit? Beautiful cards. And you get the 9 cards with all the supplies for $14 in that kit. So there's the yellow one. So now I want to make sure that that is dry. So I'm going to turn that over and rub, and it is dry. So now we're ready to put those in the embossing folder. And since this is a 4th of July, I don't want the crisscrossing. I just want the stars. So I'm bringing it down enough, because the stars is diagonal. All of this is stars. And when I was embossing it today to prepare for my class in West Bremerton. I could see how the static, that those would move on me. So I had to learn how to get in there and shift them so they didn't move when I was prepping. Okay, so now we want to lay that on there. I have been super sick, so I have not been on Facebook. Oh, okay. Well, it's in there. But then once I go and download it and place it on my YouTube, then I bring the YouTube link back into creating on a whim group. So we put it into folders. So if you didn't see the first part, you want platform 1, cutting plate number 3, because this is not a 3D embossing folder, this is a normal embossing folder. Your cardstock inside the embossing folder, and then cutting plate 3 again, because you get 2 of the number 3s. Then you bring your machine in, and you put those plates all the way in, and I'm hitting my microphone. Had to move the machine over. And there's that. And I'll show you what they look like. So I get this other stuff out of my way. Alright, so there is the happy birthday with the stars, and there's the stars on the yellow. Now if you flip them over, they're inverted, but we don't want them inverted, we want them raised up. So now we're ready to mount them onto the DSP. So you have to look at the paper, because some paper is certain ways. And see, that was the back side. So you got to make sure you look at it. And I didn't look at it when I cut my white paper, and I should have. So we're going to do this one. And then we're going to do the yellow one. And then we're going to raise this up on dimensionals for that one. The first one I didn't use dimensionals, but I like to show each card a little bit different because everybody stamps different ways. Some like to add depth, some don't. So just want to show several different ways to do it. We're bringing it all the way to the edge of the DSP. We all have a lot of a DSP as regular stampers who've been stamping for years. That's one of the things I love about Stampin' Up's DSP. It never gets old. And there's always something new that you want. So we always have leftover scraps. And this is where you get to use them and coordinate with cardstock or vice versa, cardstock with DSP. So now I'll bring my dimensionals in. I found these ones that Fifi found. She's pulled them off, so I'm going to use those. I can't leave them out. She finds them and she just likes to pull them off the sheet, my kitty. And here's the regular size. Those are the mini ones. I only got to save 3 out of them out of there because she had a field day with them. Oh, that's too many. Let me use these outside edges. Hopefully this is not too long. I think it is. So I'm just going to lift it up and cut this extra piece off and not use it. And press on it. Those don't have covers. She peeled them off. Oh my goodness. But at least she doesn't mess with my ribbon. Now she'll mess with the linen thread. She doesn't mess with the ribbon. And now we're just going to line this up, and it's going to overlap the 2 colors, the DSP and the yellow, and then lay right up on top. Now we're ready to mount that. Yeah, she is a silly kitty. She likes to eat the topping, the backings on the dimensionals. Now I can always tell when I scoop her cat box because you can see it right in there. Oh my goodness. Especially the tear tape backing. So I always have to empty that out after class because she'll try to get that out of the trash can. So I put it in the trash compactor. And there's that. Now we're going to add some rhinestones to this. And this one, I'm going to do 4 little ones. I'm going to put them where the starbursts are in the paper. I mean, this is just awesome. I'll put a big one there. I'll put one here. And I'm going to use one of the medium ones or large ones on one. So there's 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4. And where's my sheet with the large one? Here it is. I always have these leftover small pieces, so I just want to make sure I try to use them before I go and open a new one. And that big area right there. So there is that one. Nice 4th of July. So if you're going to somebody's barbecue and you want to bring them a gift, you can put this one or make a tag. Yep, go on the gift. It doesn't have to be a card. This can be turned into a tag as well. Isn't that cool? Okay, so instead of using a white card base, because this has so much white in it, I used lemon lime twist instead. And this is 5.5 by 8.5. And you just go ahead and fold this in half. And it's light enough that you can write on the inside, so you don't need a white inlay. When it's dark colored cardstock, I usually recommend to put a white inlay. And that's the back side, which I don't like. So, but this is the polka dots. It reminds me of confetti for a birthday. So this is 4 inches by 5 1/4. All of the DSP was 4 by 5 1/4. So now we're going to go ahead and stamp that sentiment, and then we'll do our flag cutting. And then this is a piece of DSP. Didn't care for that side. I used it on something else, but usually with animals or a scenery. So anyways, this was a scrap piece left over. So both of this one is a 3.5 by 1 inch. The daffodil light is 3/4 by 3.5. And real red 1 by 3. So let's stamp our sentiment first. No banner ends in the white. I didn't do it on that white DSP. You talking about the one we just did, Debbie? You could if you wanted to, but I left that one alone since it was DSP. But I am going to cut the blue one. I like to do each one different, so that way it gives people a variation. Because yes, you could do a banner end on each one. I just like to show a variety of ways of doing it, even though everything is cut. So, and we'll line this up and count to 5 and hold your paper and remove your stamp. And now we're done with that ink pad. I'm going to let that dry before I go to cut it. So what Debbie was mentioning, you're not going to cut I didn't cut the white one earlier, but I'm going to cut the blue one. Just remember to always cut up the center, and that way you get it each time. I'll get ready to say, what happened to that scrap paper? I know I cut 2 ends. Excuse me. Then we cut this one. There we go. And then we'll cut the red one. Let me make sure it's dry. Always check and turn it over and check to make sure there's no ink showing. Because sometimes it takes a little bit longer depending on how well inked your ink pad is. You don't want to smear it because it is water-based ink. I didn't do a clean cut there. There we go. That's clean. All right. So now we're ready to texture these two. We don't need to texture DSP. So earlier I did all the stars. This time I'm going to do the lines. Okay. The longer one needs to be on the outside edge. And I'm just lining that up, just like that. And you gotta make sure you hold this because they will slip if you don't. I didn't see Gail on here. She on here? She doesn't show her. I don't see her. She didn't say anything. But you're probably just saying hi to her when she watches the replay. Am I right, Debbie? Because there's only one viewer on, which is you. Okay, now we've sandwiched them. Now we're going to put them in the machine. Let me open this up because I didn't have it open earlier. Don't want it getting caught on the cord. I got to move it over so I don't hit the microphone. There we go. Move this big thing out of the way. There we go. Alright, wait till you see this. Really looks cool. Texture, I just love texture. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Yep, and embossing folder has both in it. So this is going to be a vertical card. Portrait, not landscape. The last one was a landscape. And then this one, we're going to do the blue, yellow, then red. So just to show you 3 different ways of doing them. Doesn't matter. You don't have to copy how I show. I just show different ways. So I think I'm going to put the blue one on first. So that way I have a guide. Alright. Grab it where it has no glue. Bring it to the edge of your DSP. There we go. And then we're going to add the glue to the yellow one. There we go. Sometimes those little, when you emboss them, the little flag part kind of curls up. I'll show you what I'm going to do. There we go. Just remember, whenever you're doing texture, you always want to stamp your sentiment first. So to see how this one is curling up, I'm just going to do that. And it just goes flat down. It's just from when it was getting embossed. So there's that. Now we're ready to put it on the lemon lime twist. And now that card just brightens up. I didn't want to use white with white background with the polka dots. It just would wash it out. Wanted the colors to be vibrant. Oh yeah, you can do that. The post-it notes, yes. True, 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 Debbie. Good suggestion, honey. Now we're just going to go ahead, and I usually eye here, here, and here, and then let it lay down. It gets it right every time. And you smooth it all the way around. Now we're ready to add the jewels. I'm going to put my scissors up. I'll show y'all the Take Your Pick tool. So on the Take Your Pick tool, it has a pointy end. So this is great for those those embellishments that have an adhesive bottom. The ones that don't have an adhesive bottom, we have what you call this little putty, and you form it. So how you can do it is if you have trouble, once you pick this up, let's see, like this one, it just stuck right to it. And then I'm just going to put it on the yellow ones. There's one. But say we couldn't get it up, you pick it up just like that. And find another yellow. I'll use 5 on this one too. 4 little ones and 1 big one. Whoops. There we go. 1, 2, 3. And see, that one stuck automatically to it. See, that's cool. There's that one. The big ones, you have no trouble. And here. And I love how it has the covers to protect the tools for both ends. And then there's an adapter, and you take this comes off like this. There's an adapter for this that you use to get the small pieces out of your die cut machine, die cut plates, and when you're doing the cutting. So there is that. So let me move that back out of the way. There's that one. And there's that one. And here is this one. Very cheery and bright cards. Well, I hope you've enjoyed. Have a wonderful week. I'll be back here next Monday showing something fun and easy creating with cardstock, paper, and embellishments and more. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.